Let the chaos begin, folks. It's pull-out season. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Against the Fence, where, of course, this is the place to be if you're obsessed and passionate about the UFC. And, of course, you may have noticed I'm in a new room, new studio, new flat, so you might get some odd noises around the place. You might hear next-door neighbours. You might hear banging around, all sorts. But I will try and drown them out with my wonderful voice to talk to you guys about Conor McGregor pulling out of 303. We'll talk about the shake-up that has gone on in sort of this past 24 hours, really. A lot has happened. We woke up to the news this morning here in the UK. Some of you guys in the US probably would have seen it late last night. So we'll talk about that. Few new additions to UFC 303. Are they better additions? We'll also talk about that as well. We'll talk about Robert Whittaker having a new opponent. Aliskarov has stepped up for the injured or ill Khamzat Chimaev. So lots to digest, not to go through. How you doing? Smash a like on the video and hit the like button as well to kick things off. Man, Friday is upon us, and don't forget, this tomorrow evening we'll be doing a live watch along as always for UFC Fight Night. Perez versus Tara. Yes, nearly forgetting. That will be going down, I think, at you can see that in the below here in the ticker area, the times that will be showing up. That's at 12 a.m. BST, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and 4 p.m. Pacific Time. Quite very handy having this ticker below because I always forget the times. Yeah, I'm the one who constantly types them out every single week. But yeah, make sure you stick around for that and join us hanging out. Don't watch the fights alone. That's what we like to say. So, let's talk about then, kicking things off, Conor McGregor officially pulling out of UFC 303. Now, this is something I said last Tuesday. I knew it was going to happen. Well, I don't know. Like I said, I think at the time it was about 70-30, I think, maybe, perhaps, that it was going to happen. For an inside source of mine had said, who's got connections to the SBG gym in Ireland. Alex to save the day, says Ash. Yes, we'll get through that, and what a hero he is. Yeah, my source said to me last week that Conor was injured and will probably be pulling out. A lot of speculation this past week. They've kind of really dragged it out as the UFC. The news has been circulating that they were trying to find a new opponent. Or no, not a new opponent, a new matchup. And it had gone quiet for quite some time. But, the news did officially break late last night that Conor McGregor will be pulling out. Not sure the extent of the injuries. Maybe it could be another hairline fracture. But it sucks to see that this fight has fallen through yet again. And Michael Chandler seems to be having, the best kind of patience around. I think he did try and get a statement that he made. I think we did get some clarity from Michael Chandler. Or let's have a look. I don't think, did he put it on his Twitter? What's also annoying is that can't actually. Did he tweet it? No, he didn't. It was from some other source, I think. Was it from him by someone else? Don't really know. Maybe someone can send me the link or something, or just tag the ATF account on Twitter. That'd be ideal. And we'll get to that. So the question is now is what's going to happen with this fight. Now, it's probably likely that it's going to get rebooked. Could it get rebooked for the Las Vegas Sphere, perhaps, at UFC 306? That's kind of something that I thought about initially because, a historic event, have such a mega fight happening on it. Conor brings the eyeballs, of course, and we all know that. But apparently that option has been ruled out and that it's probably going to take place in August. Now, the only pay-per-view at the moment that's penciled in for August is the UFC 305 card in Perth. But the problem with that is Izzy's going to be on that card. And Izzy's already a big star. So the UFC probably won't put two of their biggest stars on the same card. So I'm wondering whether or not they will perhaps maybe move the Izzy Dricus fight, which would be a bit of a shame, really, with Izzy kind of being, well, originally from New Zealand, which is so close to Australia. Why they would kind of move that one further along in the year. It's either that or perhaps because September was also mentioned as well, but at the moment that Las Vegas Sphere card is the only pay-per-view scheduled for September. So I think maybe it's looking like we see the fight happening in October personally, but I don't know. You know, we've seen some weird things happening, haven't we? This past kind of recent period from the UFC. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it. I think it will be Perth, Australia, which is kind of a bit of a shame. Ash says, yeah, it's hard to squeeze it, man. Yeah, it really is. There's, things are getting booked up, and apparently they're close to finalising the Sphere card, which would probably be O'Malley, who's another big kind of draw, and a Marab featuring on that. So is that going to be main event? I assume it's going to be main event, and there might be some other awesome fights happening as well, which we'll have to see. Time will tell. I think they're doing a good job at the moment of kind of clearly booking fights, but not telling people what they are, because we kind of known for a while now that Dricus and Izzy was going to be on that Perth card, but nothing's actually come out yet. Ash says, I think the fight is been and gone now. The hype for the fight has gone. F it now. Yeah, look, I'm all for that. I'm literally all for that as well, man, because it just, it's been so long in the making. That tough series they done was over a year, man, and it literally it's just gone. Like, I think the UFC should really move on with the fight personally and just call it a bit of a bad omen. But then who would you pair Conor up with? And Chandler instead, I don't think fans will want to see a fourth fight with Dustin Poirier. I don't think that's on the cards. So yeah, I don't think that's kind of where I stand with it. But welcome on in if you're new. Smash a like on the video, hit the subscribe button as well on the channel. It's a UFC fan channel where fan opinions matter most, and of course, you guys, the fans, come first. As you can see here, new setup as compared to normal. It's a little bit different, but we're gonna make do with it. There's some new additions coming in this Saturday. I'm gonna have a new bookshelf behind me with some of the pictures that you've maybe seen in the background of my videos before. So when all that gets put together, it's gonna look so good, man. I can't wait. So yeah, I can't wait to share that with you guys, and hopefully some acoustic treatment as well. But we'll see. That's going to come eventually. All right, okay. Let's move on then to talk about the shake-up that has gone on in UFC 303. Some interesting bouts have been added. Anthony Smith is stepping in for the injured Jamal Hill. Now, I don't really know the extent of this injury that's happened. It's a shame to see him pull out again. But he's going to be paired up against Carlos Ulberg, which is kind of sucks for Carlos Ulberg because he did almost win the lottery ticket with that fight against Jamal Hill. He'll be moving up several spots in the rankings. Should he have won that fight against Jamal Hill, but he's going to have to sit where he is at the moment. I'm just going to get the rankings up because I can't actually remember where everyone is. Jamal Hill number 3, Ulberg in at 11, and Anthony Smith in at number 10. So it kind of really sucks for Ulberg, doesn't it? But I'd imagine he's going to get the win here against an Anthony Smith who's kind of, all right, he looked good in his last fight. He did against a Vitor Petrino, but inconsistency has really got him as of late, and I think Ulberg is a bit of a wrecking machine. He's going to probably finish Anthony Smith. Let's face it, move up one spot, and then hopefully he gets another opportunity at fighting a big fight, perhaps later on. So we'll see. The other fight, really intriguing, really excites me, is Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez. Absolute barn burner. Looks like it's going to be the co-main event for 303. For me, it's good to see Diego Lopez get such a massive jump up after back-to-back finishes. The way he handled Sadiq Youssef was very, very impressive. But for Brian Ortega, though, it kind of sucks a little bit because I feel like after that Yair Rodriguez win, he looked back. Like, and he came back in such a big way that I kind of felt that he was next in line for the featherweight title shot. But it's not going to happen. And Diego Lopez, kind of similar fashion to Allberg, really, is getting the lottery ticket fight here, where a win against Ortega puts him in line for a potential title fight. And not only that, he's going to leapfrog Movsar Evelev, who's kind of been knocking on the door for some time. He's not exactly been winning in impressive fashion. He's been getting decision wins, but he's there for the taking. Should he push further for a featherweight title shot against the winner of maybe Max Holloway and Ilia Topuria, another fight which is yet to be made. Smash a like on the video. Yes, my man, Brother B. What a hot mess, he says. Mate, but are you happy with the mess? In some ways I am. I think 303 card has got a little bit better. I must admit. But the other option, of course, the main event, Alex Pereira versus Yuri Procházka. This fight kind of saves the day again, really, because didn't it get made on that same John Jones card in New York when that fight fell through with Stipe? I think Pereira, you got to really give him respect, for at least stepping up and defending his belt in like 2 weeks' notice. Barely any preparation. It's just going to be weight cut for him against a tough Yuri Procházka, bounced back after a decent win against Alexander Rakic. But you got to almost feel that that Pereira is going to get the job done once again. I think Pereira's, some saying that perhaps maybe Pereira is ducking Ankalaev, but at the same time, what's happening with Ankalaev? Guy's gone missing, And yeah, okay, he's a bigger threat than Yuri Procházka in a lot of ways. But, do we think that Pereira's can win against Procházka again? Because the last fight was a little bit controversial. Some felt it was an early stoppage. I think it was good stoppage, personally. But, we move on. Brother B says, I don't have a problem with any of it. Just a PR nightmare for the UFC. Yeah, really is. Especially when people have bought tickets and hotels splashed out even more money for tickets to see Conor McGregor's return. And now they're, of course, getting a late title fight, which could very well be very lackluster because both guys are going to be a little bit underprepared. Same with Ortega and Lopez. But it depends who's been training or constantly training. I don't think that Pereira has been. He's been bouncing around all over the globe. Procházka, we know what Procházka is. He's probably lived in a cave for the past week. Like, blackout, no sunlight. So when he eventually returns out of his cave, it's going to be weird for him to adjust as well. So, I don't know. El Capitan's in the house. What's up, fellas? Raf in the building. Good to see you, Raf. Smash that like button, buddy. Anyone who doubted Ariel get to eat a crow, says Brother B. Yeah, I mean, he was kind of on the right end of things, wasn't he, throughout this kind of week? Not being paying too much attention to Ariel there. El Capitano says, remember Alex Volkanovski versus Islam Makhachev? It's not the only one. We're seeing that. Bit of a different scenario, I think, with that one, because Islam was in camp at the time and preparing for Charles Oliveira, whereas it was Alex Volkanovski stepping up at short notice. Whereas I think in this case, neither guy has been preparing, really. But good to see you, Rafael. But a lot of people could face a nightmare for travel booking. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's what I said as well. Awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff. But what do you make of these changes? Do you think they're better? Do you think they're worse? What do you prefer? Would you rather see McGregor return against Michael Chandler, or are you quite happy with these new adjustments that have been made? But is it the right call? And regardless of availability, what fight would have you made instead? Take it all availability out of the question. What fight would you rather have seen? Don't say McGregor versus Chandler. Just don't. Personally, I don't know what mine would be. Active roster right now. Just Jones versus Stipe. Just get it over and done with. That would be mine. I think. That's another one. Kind of fits in the same bracket really as McGregor and Chandler. It's funny that, isn't it? Two of the biggest stars in the UFC have been holding things up. McGregor and John Jones. But we move on. All right, okay. I'm gonna talk about our last topic of the show then, which is going to be the change of opponent for next weekend's card. Why is this not coming up? Go. It's not showing up. Technical issues, man. Well, I mean, this is, or have I been pressing it? Have I been pressing the wrong one this whole time? There we go. That's better. iPad's not cooperating. Khamzat Chimaev has pulled out of the fight against Robert Whittaker. Are you guys surprised about it? I mean, it sounds like something really serious because there's clearly some health issues there. I think his manager released a statement saying that he's kind of been battling this illness throughout camp, and he's come down to kind of the fine lines here, and they've made a call to withdraw from the fight, which is such a shame. We've not seen Khamzat since October now. It's been some time. He went from being the most active fighter in 2020 to barely seeing him at all. I think he's fighting now once a year. The UFC have been trying to make fights with him at both welterweight and middleweight. Fans have been excited to see him push towards a title fight, but it just keeps going further and further away from it. But, and he was kind of lined up to fight back in March, Saudi Arabia as well. Let's not forget about that. But he wasn't cleared to fight in time, so the UFC moved that whole event to the Apex because they promised Saudi Arabia that they would bring a big card with some big names. But it is what it is. I think that they got Rosenstruck versus that Gaziev geezer instead. So it had to be moved to the Apex. But this new fight against Ikram Aliskarov, and we put a bit of a social out yesterday because everyone was throwing names out there who should step in and replace him, whether it be Sean Strickland or Brendan Allen or Ikram Aliskarov or Nassadine Movov. Strickland, for me, I think on paper would be an exciting one, would make sense and probably please the crowd a little bit more so because he's a name. But the thing is he's very stubborn in the fact that he believes that he deserves the next shot at middleweight and is digging his heels in. And at first, I thought that maybe perhaps the UFC would be able to persuade him, but we've not seen it. The fight with Nassadine Movov doesn't really excite me much because of some of the recent things to play out in Movov's fight. Whether it be the Chris Curtis headbutt, which was unfortunate, the last weekend's fight against Jerry Cannonier, which kind of ended with a sour taste in fans' mouths because they believed that it was stopped too early. And really, because of that, you can't bring him into a big main event headlining slot again against, arguably, top 3 middleweight in the world. So, I felt that the Aliskarov fight kind of puts you on a little bit of an edge because he has been dominating some of these lower guys, and he just goes down to as someone who's known for losing to Khamzat once upon a time and has gone on this murderous row. So yeah, it does excite me, and I'm intrigued to see. Again, we're talking about people who are making massive jumps in the division. He has a big opportunity to upset this division now, should he beat Robert Whittaker and make a big claim. Is it a bigger claim than Sean Strickland, though? If he does beat Robert Whittaker, that's something to think about. We'll get to some chats. Brother B says, nobody brought up my choice all week. Chandler versus Gaethje 2. Yeah, I think that would be one that fans can kind of get behind and be excited about. It's just whether or not it's too soon for the UFC to make, because that fight did happen not too long ago. Would have expected a Max Holloway to step up, perhaps, and then do for the BMF belt. Winner wins that, goes on, fights Conor, and just call it like that. There you go. We're in the fight-making business over here. The UFC needs to start listening to me, because that would have been awesome. But I think Max Holloway's on vacation, I think, with his family at the moment. Maybe in Japan, I think. So it doesn't really make sense to step in 2 weeks' notice for Max Holloway, I'm afraid. But, that would have been pretty gangster. Brother B says, Conor, Hill, Chimaev, what a disastrous triangulation of crossfire. Yeah, really is. Really is, man. Oh, excellent comments in the chats, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and smash a like on the video if you've not done so already. Now, on the other side of things, it was all great for Ikram Aliskarov. For Robert Whittaker, though, is this kind of a career-defining moment for him? Fighting somebody who's very low in the rankings, has been killing people, very new, fresh into the UFC. A loss here could be damaging, right? Because then do you then still see Whittaker going on and perhaps getting himself into another title picture later on down the road? I can't see it, I really can't see it. And things will start to slip away from him, and then you kind of put him in this bracket of, okay, maybe we can pair him up with people who have been around for a long time, like he has, and just kind of put on entertaining fights until he eventually retires. Because that's kind of what the UFC have been doing a lot recently. Tony Ferguson is obviously someone who's been in that spiral as of late. There's some other guys who have been in there as well, which, I can't really think of at the top of my head. If you guys can think about, pop them in the chats. Marcus Gabrielson, welcome on in, Marcus. Thanks for tuning in, and smash that like button. Who says Chimaev has an autoimmune problem that has flared up lately, has not been the same since COVID hit him. Yeah, I've got to agree with that as well. It's something that I've seen as well. We've all seen the state of his face that time. We had like red blotches around him. Such a shame, and you got to ask yourself, how long is this going to affect him for? And can he bounce back from it, really? It was a good showing against Kamaru Usman, but I think as time goes on, people will probably look back at that fight and use that as a good excuse for the way it went down. Because it was a close fight, but I do think that Chimaev won. If he's able to bounce back from this illness and go on this murderous row again and become champion, then yeah, Usman's going to look good. But we should really keep this in mind, But thanks for your comment, man. Love that stuff. So yeah, if Robert Whittaker was to lose against Aliskarov, we'll all be asking the same kind of questions, right? Would retirement be his next option? I don't think so. I think we got. It depends how it all goes down. If he gets knocked out, then you do kind of look at things and go, got knocked out against Dricus, knocked out against a guy who's up and coming, low in the rankings. It's a slippery slope for him. But then also it kind of makes Paulo Costa look really, really bad, doesn't it? Hey, something to think about. Let us know what you think, guys, to some of these topics in this show. We've had a blast so far, and of course, make sure you've got the notifications bell rang on our channel so you know what's coming next in a few weeks. More live shows, live watch-alongs as always as well. It's good to be back. New office, new place, different feel, you know. But we're going to get there. We're going to get through things. There we go. I was going to pop that back on screen. There we go. Awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to wrap this up now. I've got some homework to do for this piece. Tomorrow night's UFC Vegas 93 card, where of course it's going to be Alex Perez taking on Tatsutara in the main event. Few good fights as well on the main card, 6 in total. So make sure you are there and tune in. Don't watch alone. Watch along with some of the top MMA heads in the community. So yeah, make sure you stick around for that. My pick so far at the moment is going to be Alex Perez. I think he gets it done via submission. Marcus says, dangerous fight for Rob. If he loses, he will be ruled out. If he wins, his opponent wasn't all that. That's true. That's just kind of the way we kind of live in with the MMA community, isn't it? Top stuff, Marcus. All right. Amazing stuff, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one. Ciao for now. Good night.